Told you about the illegal cutting of trees near Lake Zorinsky several weeks ago. Today, several agencies took the investigation to a new level.
6 News' Mike McKnight first showed us the destructive vandalism last month, and tonight tells us this case is far from over.
Those enjoying the trail at Lake Zorinsky usually watch ahead or what's around them. But Steve Cassiopo spent Tuesday morning looking up.
Oh, this flight's at 400 feet.
The analyst for the Douglas County Geographic Information System pilots a drone.
It's kind of like mowing the grass up in the sky.
Over a wooded area of the park, thinned out by illegal cutting.
We'll have an aerial photography of it, so an aerial photo, which is everything stitched together, and then we'll have one big seamless photo.
City Parks officials suspect late last year, someone without permission came through with a forest mulcher like this, clearing away small trees and brush. But more than 24 larger trees may not survive the indiscriminate gnawing of their trunks. Though a forest industry machine did the cutting, a city arborist calls the work unprofessional.
We noticed that yesterday, where those trees looked like they took a hatchet.
And somebody that does something like that ought to be caught.
Yeah.
Mary Caswell and Joanne Aliano walk the trail through the woods almost every day.
I hate to see it destroyed and, like you said, vandalized.
Guided by a Douglas County GPS tech, Army Corps of Engineers staff members and City Parks tree expert teamed up to identify the outer limits of destruction in the woods. The drone and GPS mapping will give City Parks officials and the Corps of Engineers an almost exact measurement of the area affected by the vandalism, and that's also important for prosecution in determining a loss and restitution. The agencies involved in the vandalism investigation will get a three-dimensional look at the path of destruction.
If they want to look at a value or at least, from a number standpoint, hey, this many acres were affected and potentially this many cubic yards of vegetation were removed.
An email from the Army Corps of Engineers says what transpired at Lake Zorinsky is against the law, and those responsible for the destruction could be subject to criminal prosecution and civil penalties. When the illegal cutters are identified and brought to justice, three-dimensional evidence will land in court. On your side on the south side of Lake Zorinsky, Mike McKnight, 6 News.
Those involved in the investigation have a theory about a motive for the illegal tree cutting. However, they need more information to prove it. Anyone who might know who drove the mulcher machine into the woods at Lake Zorinsky should call the Omaha Parks Department or Army Corps of Engineers.